And welcome everyone. Year after year they have suffered in silence, the mothers, the fathers, brothers, sisters, sons and daughters of some 26,000 Mexican citizens who have simply disappeared.
But tonight those loved ones are saying no more. The disappearance and presumed murder of those 43 students has brought the simmering anger to a boil.
And at this hour, thousands of people gathering in Mexico City to demand their government take action. CNN's Shasta Darlington joins us now from Mexico City. The massive protest just getting underway. Tell us what you're expecting to unfold and about the level of anger. We still shake our heads at this 26,000 missing people.
Yeah, that's right, Michael. I think the really sad thing here is that it has become so commonplace. It took this magnitude of a crime to really shake people up. And what we're seeing is thousands of people have been pouring into Mexico City all day long from towns and other states. They've been coming by bus, organizing and meeting at these 3 different locations, preparing for the main march in the evening. Now, one group did break off and they tried to close down the international airport, but they were contained by police. This is a protest against political corruption, against the impunity, the corruption that have become so commonplace, but really focused on these 43 students. And some of the protests in recent weeks have turned violent. So we heard from President Enrique Peña Nieto earlier today. Listen to what he had to say.
Mexicans say no to violence. Society and government reject any attempt to provoke or encourage it. Mexico for sure is in pain, but the only way to alleviate this pain is through peace and justice.
This incident is really seen as the biggest test yet of his presidency, and tonight it is certainly going to be key. Thousands of people are already starting to march here towards the main square in the city known as the Zócalo. We've got government offices here, the cathedral. Tens of thousands are expected. And while organizers and the families of these 43 students who disappeared have encouraged participants to be peaceful, to carry out peaceful protests, to demand their rights, but in a peaceful manner, we do expect to see some violence. Only 5,000 police have been put on standby to contain these events. Obviously the government doesn't want to have a heavy hand here, but we're really going to see how this plays out, and it will be important for how Peña Nieto's presidency moves forward from here, Michael, Lynda.
And preparations for this march dominated social media in Mexico, with people posting on Twitter things like, there will not be a mass grave big enough to shut us all up. Is that message getting through to authorities yet?
I think it's a very good question. We do hear the president and others speaking out about this incident now, but it took them over a week to comment in the first place. These students disappeared at the end of September. The protests and the clamor began to grow, and since then authorities came out saying they've heard confessions that these students were actually rounded up by police on the order of a local mayor and handed over to a drug gang to be killed. It's just outrageous. Yeah. But the problem is, while they were looking for the mass grave of these students, they found lots of other mass graves. This is commonplace, and people are demanding solutions.
Which is why, Shasta, when you hear the president speak like that, really speaking like a politician, and it's important to say it's not everywhere, but in large parts of Mexico, you have this situation where this is systemic, where you have politics and police and corruption and criminals all working hand in hand. That is an ingrained, enmeshed problem that Mexico's got to deal with. And to hear the president say, yes, we're all against violence and that, well, the political system is part of the problem.
Absolutely, Michael. And it was interesting when Peña Nieto ran for president, he really ran on sort of an economic reformist platform, really focusing on the economy. Let's get the economy going, when his predecessor had been embroiled in all of these drug wars, kind of trying to sideline that aspect of it. And it's just come crashing down on his head, because it's not going to go away by ignoring it. And this is where we see people are going to finally put their feet down and say it can't be ignored. It can only be solved by addressing it head on. Give us some solutions. And that they haven't heard. They have heard the president coming out and saying, we will investigate it. We'll get to the bottom of this. But in the meantime, let's not react with violence. But they haven't heard the kind of solutions that people believe are needed to really begin to address this problem that dates back decades at this point, Michael.
Exactly. Shasta, thanks so much. Shasta Darlington keeping an eye on that in Mexico City.